Hey, do you ever play that game Red November? I'm probably foreshadowing a whole lot here, but this was a lot like Red November. That's right, Star Wars Armada! This is actually the second game that I've ever played of this game. I've got a pretty coherent strategy, I think, going in. We're going to use the Rebel Assault Cruiser to move in and try to tangle with the Imperials, while we got a fighter-heavy complement to take on everything else that I might not want to engage directly. I'm not sure what he's going to bring when I was making this list. And to add insult to injury, I brought the Yavaris title card for the Neblon Bead. Hopefully, we're going to leverage that between it and the fighter complement in the list to try to, make something just a little OP. Again, I barely know what I'm doing here. And as you can see, my buddy here has brought on an Imperialist of much concern, taking in the vaunted Star Destroyer with a little itty bitty baby Star Destroyer, the Victory class, escorted by 2 Raiders. It's interesting to note that he has foregone a fighter complement in its entirety. So I try to bait the deployment of this scenario, which is we're just doing a brush up, and just put all my fighters out there in the middle so that he has to respond to them. And then later in the initiative of deployment, I guess, later in the deployment track, I start placing all the other items on the board. As you can see, I deploy heavy to the south of the board, as you can see, marked right here in an attempt to try to get a denied flank, sort of. I'm trying to take on those raiders and let the assault frigate, the Neblon B, do everything they can, while I sent the other Neblon all the way over here on the other side. We're going to try to get some nice little rear shots and a long running flanking action. But the Empire doesn't take very kindly to those shenanigans and realizes what's about to happen as I immediately move the Rebel Assault Frigate forward and start displaying the side to the Empire. I'm going to try to make it as tempting a target as possible. I want to rope that Imperial Star Destroyer into being on the wrong side of the board while I thrust the fighters at him. And he buys it completely. The Imperial Star Destroyer lumbers forward at a pondering 2. I am hauling at speed 4, and I even let the Neblon B, the Yavaris marked right here, move right in front of the Rebel frigate, cutting him off in a display that I really don't realize is a problem as much as my buddy does, and I'm going to come to regret it in the very near future. Nonetheless, the Rebel fighters are holding formation as they are going to display an asymmetric force against that Star Destroyer. We're going to try to tie it up with bombers and to see what we can do with that. I don't want to get into a gun-to-gun fight if I can avoid it. Seeing an opportune moment to do all kinds of collateral damage, I move the Yavaris forward, activating, having a squadron command token in the ready, and he can only just barely rope in one of the Y-Wings. So I go ahead and pull over the Y-Wing over there to do, I think, a point of damage on the Corvette. But, it's better than nothing. And the Yavaris hauls off. Again, I'm trying to get him out of the way of that Rebel cruiser. Victory is assured because he's not going to hit him. Right? Well, veterans to this game know that I've actually just compiled the problem. Because where's he going to go? And goodness knows I did not think far enough ahead. 3 turns, in fact, on the command dial to put a navigation token on there. No. I learned from the demo game right before that I want engineering. I want engineering all day, every day, because I'm pretty sure that in this turn or the next, the Imperial Star Destroyers, he's going to light them up. So I just want to, have that in the wings. But the Rebel commander of the frigate sees a good thing happening with the Neblon, and by seeing a good thing, they ordered this like a turn before, and they've got a squadron command, so they go ahead and pull up the squadrons of everything else nearby, and we try to lay into that Corvette sitting in front of us. And we deal like 3 or 4 points of damage, and then the Rebel frigate goes in with its veteran crew and everything and does a couple more points, but surprisingly doesn't kill it. And then immediately careens wildly through the fleet, trying desperately to avoid the Neblon. I wanted to pull the turn just a little tighter than that, but, beggars can't be choosers. I'm just grateful I did not hit the Neblon. Star Destroyer continues its lumbering turn towards the side of the board he probably doesn't want to be on, and I'm just kind of baiting him forward, like trying to pull a bull. Just come on, andale, trying to get him to go faster. But I think, well, he knows the game better than I. He only goes 2, and I assume that he can't turn that very well. So, we're just gonna bait our time. Try to play a long game, make the board just as long as it can, and try to play to our range and, well, our speed advantage. Even my buddy points out that the rebel transport captains must be the bravest SOBs of the fleet because they're right up in it. I mean, too bad the Empire has better things to shoot at, but they're right next to all the action as the careening frigate starts shifting left and right, trying to avoid hitting the Neblon. The Neblon's desperately hammering out the squadron commands, trying to get the fleet to do something, but he's somehow outrunning all the fighters? It's crazy. And as the Yavaris flies forward, I become immediately concerned about the range between it and the Star Destroyer. Given how this game does the whole, shoot first, move later, I'm just putting it right into its firing arc, and he immediately capitalizes on that. Just laying in round after round after round into that poor side arc of the Neblon. He survives it amazingly. The Yavaris is just kind of, literally on fire, but he's okay for now. We're just going to take our licks as we can. As he gets closer, I go ahead and let the Rebel cruiser open up on the Star Destroyer. Look at the thing, it's huge. And I've got such a dinky boat. But I unload with everything that I can and give him a couple points on the nose. I unload a few more points on the corvettes behind him, and then I just let the cruiser fly off. Again, I'm still banking engineering tokens like there's no tomorrow. And that's about the time when I realized I've got 3 turns away before I got a navigation token sitting in there. And I'm about to fly off the board. Yay! I mean, this is Red November. That game's great. So I got one ship that is literally on fire, banking squadron tokens, and it has no squadron anywhere nearby. And another one that's going too fast to turn, and he's just trying to fix things that, even though he's been shot at, it's not really broken. And I've got the Rebel command cruisers, these Rebel transports right here, which might as well be the command cruisers because they're leading the charge. They have no care in the world, sitting right in front of a Star Destroyer. Meanwhile, on the other side of the board, Neblon manages to be a potent threat as his A-wings have been sitting around him nearly the entire game, and all his squadron commands have actually it has been working. He's got 1 squadron of A-wings that has been consistently plucking off a shield token on that victory every turn, and has managed to do a couple points of hull damage. It's kind of emasculating, really. However, in the main action, having the Y-wings try to chase down the Star Destroyer, after having done quite a bit of damage to the corvettes and realizing that the corvettes are going to do a lot of damage to them, I go ahead and decide, you know what, this isn't really worth it, and I move them over. But moving in the squadron phase is just garbage. I can just move, but I can't really do anything. And that's when I start getting my genius idea, just to kind of use them as a kind of a living minefield, because that victory marked here is eventually going to come over here, so I could just kind of scatter them in this direction and hope for the best, because God knows the Yavaris isn't coming back anytime soon, because now I'm just stacking up the engineering tokens because it's on fire and it's got no shields. It's 2 points away from exploding. And in the Star Destroyer's turn, he goes ahead and hits it again, and now there's a crew compartment failure or something. Now, I mean, there's no tokens to be used, no defense tokens that I can replenish on it, and it's just going tits up for that thing so fast. But the assault cruiser's doing well. I mean, at this point, I'm no longer moving the assault cruiser because I just don't want to see its movement. I'm pretty sure it's going to walk off the table. But as the Star Destroyer begins flooring it into my formation, he gets right up, fresh and friendly with the Rebel transports. And guess what? They have nowhere to go. They're going to smear themselves across the hull of that Star Destroyer, earning me a whole point off of that Star Destroyer. It's guaranteed damage, man. And you know what? He's so close that I go ahead and use the squadron token. I've been banking squadron tokens because I noticed you know what? That thing has a squadron value of 2. I can just rope in those Y-Wings. That's what it does. And we start plucking away at the Star Destroyer, pulling the shields off and doing a couple damage and insisting on a whole new set of paint for the outside. Meanwhile, the Rebel cruiser returns. I was quite surprised. He just barely manages to not go off the board. So now I've got like 2 turns of navigation tokens sitting on here for no reason. I mean, they're just ringing up the engineering section. Hey, fix this, fix this. No, turn. And they're going to get this message way after it was relevant. The Yavaris, however, finally starts putting out some of the fires. We've managed to fix some of the shields. Its engineering value of 3 is really awkward. I mean, it's enough to fix 1 shield or not. The transports start moving again, and guess what? They have nowhere to go. I really wasn't trying to, continue scraping the transports across the hull of the Star Destroyer, but that's just how it ended up, and I cause another hull point of damage. Woo! I'm going to lose the transports at this rate, being entangled in the masts of the Star Destroyer, but you know what? I keep banking more of these squadron tokens, so I just move the Y-Wings off, and we're doing consistent damage. I think we've got the thing down to 7 points of hull damage between the Y-Wings, the constant impacts with civilian vessels, and the frigate doing all kinds of odd damage to it. It's doing okay. Star Destroyer finally takes a moment to go ahead and light up the frigate, but, it's an equitable exchange. It's able to repel firepower of that magnitude, which is quite reassuring. Meanwhile, Imperial corvettes have fixed themselves. I had stripped off all the shields on them. One of them had a deflector dish misalignment, and there was almost nothing to speak of them. One that was down to 1 hull point, the other one's down to 2, I think. And they managed to put everything back together. A couple turns of not firing at them will do that, won't it? And amidst the tumultuous celebrations of the Rebel crew, they managed to belay their excitement just for a little while to open fire on the Star Destroyer, and they managed to completely whiff with just about everything but 1 die. And that's when my buddy points out, you know what, I purchased the upgrade for veteran gunners, I should probably use it. So I do, and I managed to ring home like 7 points of damage, to which he kind of shrieks and decides, you know what, he has to mitigate that in any way he can, and he actually reduces the Star Destroyer to having almost no shields except for a few on the sides, and only 3 more points of hull damage left. Even the Victory class marked here is having kind of a rough day. I mean, he's not nearly as badly as banged up, but that A-Wing is just unrepentant, kind of just holding on to him and dealing another point of damage every turn. Who would have thought? I would have expected this out of the Y-Wings, not Joe Suicide Machine over there. But the Victory is taking its toll on the other Neblon B over there. It has almost no armor, no shields. The side shields just keep collapsing on those things. It's like they're made out of toothpicks or something. And he moves up the 2 corvettes to try to engage them and pepper the mess out of those fighters. It's not entirely clear from some of this footage, but I am losing fighters constantly. Wherever those corvettes go, fighters are just evaporating. But again, moving in the squadron phase really sucks. I have to move all the fighters up in such a way closer to the Star Destroyer so that I can hope to get a shot off next turn. Maybe. At least I measure it out in such a way that they're close enough to the Rebel transports that they can activate them next turn. And that's exactly what the transports do. Having a command counter of 1 is actually pretty darn cool. And they move forward, and we deal another point of damage. The Star Destroyer is down to 2 hull. It is about to be completely evaporated, and there's nothing... I mean, he's pretty badly messed up. So I get target fixated and send the fighters after him when I should have fired the Rebel frigate. The Rebel frigate ends up buying it. First thing he does is activates the Star Destroyer. Star Destroyer finishes off the Rebel frigate, having punctured its shields and just stripped it completely apart. Again, no more engineering tokens. At this point, we just had navigation tokens. But in his, target fixation, he slipped off the board. That's technically a kill, but it's kind of hollow, if you know what I mean. If it's any kind of mitigating value, he was almost dead. That leaves the Victory class as the lone death wedge on the board, and I'm going to have a little trouble doing it. Believe it or not, the Yavaris has got things under control, having spent like the last 4 turns with engineering tokens desperately trying to repressurize everything and fix all the fires. The Yavaris is actually in combat shape. It's got most of its shields back. Even the other Neblon B manages to make a go of it, having, again, I learned my lesson. I'm no longer using squadron tokens. I'm throwing engineering tokens, just trying desperately to keep the side arcs on those things alive. I'm doing something clearly very wrong with their application, but they're doing a little bit of damage against the Empire. The thing is that he's smart enough to keep moving all his ships that I'm going to shoot at. He moves them early in their steps and gets them out of the way, and I end up not doing much damage to him. And in the parting shots for the last turn, he goes ahead and moves the victory class forward, makes a few shots, doesn't manage to get a kill, leaving the squadron phase to mine and mine alone, moving everything up to swarm over it, and leaving it with a rebel victory? Surprising even myself that the Star Destroyer was worth so many points, and it's still technically a kill, though it's not very satisfactory, you know. But it's still a victory nonetheless. I mean, I won by like 15 points, somewhere in that bracket. Well, this has been an Ouchies Batrep, and thanks for watching. This game was a lot of fun. If you're looking at picking up another space combat game, Armada is actually not that bad.
No, he needs to move.
He needs to move, and then because I still haven't moved this one. Don't hit me.
I'm gonna try not to.
Even though I think you might do.
Not like that. Not like this.
Is that better?
Yeah, we can be all up in your business.
Careful.
Yeah, all up in my grill.
I like big apps and I cannot. There you go.
Okay.